Welcome to this Knowledge Exchange UK 30-minute insight. Over the next 30 minutes, we're just going to give you a little bit of an insight into our Spinout creation course. I should start off by introducing myself. I'm Stuart Wilkinson. I'm the CEO of Knowledge Exchange UK, but I'm also joined by two practitioners and course directors for Knowledge Exchange UK, Andrew Wilson and Mari Gibbs. And I might just at the start ask Mari and Andrew to introduce themselves. Why don't I start with Mari? Why don't you give us a bit of your background in a few seconds and the relevance to Spinout creation?
Yeah, hi Stuart, hi everybody. Great to have this webinar today. My name's Mari Gibbs. I'm Chief Executive at Oxford University Innovation. I've worked in this field of technology transfer for, I'm just looking at my calendar, 23 years, which is quite a while, always in Oxford in a whole variety of different roles. I've been CEO for about 18 months now, and I have course directed on the New Venture Creation course for quite a few years. I think it's a really important activity that we do to help train the next generation of practitioners in what it is to do a spin-out company.
And Andrew, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so hi Stuart, hi everyone. I'm Andrew Wilson. I'm head of commercialization at the University of Bristol. Before that, I was head of health and life science commercialization at the University of Bristol. And when I joined the university, we weren't doing many spin-outs. Just after I joined, there was a big boom. So I've probably done about 15, 20 spin-outs and peripherally been involved in kind of about 50. I was the course director of MVC 1, so New Venture Creation 1. And this year, we've listening to feedback, we've combined the two courses into a single Spinout creation course.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I wanted to say that right at the start that Spinout creation is an evolution of our NVC 1, New Venture Creation 1 and 2, where we've combined them both into one course. So we thought it'd be useful to give you a bit of an insight around that. I think just at the start, I'm just going to say a few words about Knowledge Exchange UK courses and the way we do them, and a bit of a heads up. Obviously, there's much more information on our website. But Knowledge Exchange UK courses tend to be by practitioners for practitioners, which is why having Mari and Andrew's expertise in both designing the course and delivering the course, along with a number of other presenters, is really important. It's supposed to be a sort of a very practical way of learning how to do some of the things necessary in Knowledge Exchange. This particular course, as with some of our other courses, are face-to-face courses mainly, and there's an online introduction just to get you warmed up for the course, and then some chance to meet together, listen to some content, grow your network, ask experts questions on the sessions themselves. But as I say, there's much more information about the practicalities of the courses on our website. Now, obviously, Spinout creation or spinouts are a very keen topic at the moment. There's lots of focus and emphasis on spinouts in the UK particularly. And so we think this course will be particularly relevant for those thinking about the challenges of doing spinouts. But I thought I'd just start off with a very broad question to Andrew and Mari about what are the challenges of doing a spinout? Is it easy? Is it hard? What would you say are the kind of key challenges about spinout creation? Before we talk about the course in particular. Either of you just feel free to chip in.
Shall I start? So, to a point, a spin out is just another type of knowledge exchange, right? It involves some partners from the outside world who may have more or less knowledge of the way that things work in your university. And you need to have a business proposition that's going to make it worth them investing their time and money. So some of this is concepts that you will already have, I think, if you're working in this sort of space. But to do a spin-out company, you're bringing a new legal entity into the world. It's a little bit like midwifery in some sort of a way, that there's going to be a new person in the world as a result of your activities. And it's quite emotionally high stakes for the founders. So that's something that's a little bit different from maybe research sponsorship. They're going to care about it, but it's not going to affect their life in quite the same sort of a way. I think spin-outs are also different in the number of different stakeholders there are, because you're likely to have new managers coming in, you're likely to maybe have some investors, all sorts of different things. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And there are slightly more moving parts. There are slightly more a broader scope of different legal agreements, moving from those that related just just to the spin out, but also the agreements that might go alongside those. So licenses, research agreements, space use. And often there's no linear A, B, C, D step. It's quite sometimes like nailing jelly to the wall process. And so we're here to help try and demystify some of that.
I mean, that sounds, in one sense, fun or potentially quite scary. Multiple stakeholders, quite complex, many people involved. Why bother? Why have you spent so much time doing spin-outs? What's the positive, the upside of creating new companies? Um,
Personally, it's hugely exciting and hugely rewarding. Um, for the impact perspective, it's sometimes the only way or the fastest way we can get the broadest impact from our research. So I'm incentivized to do them for two different reasons: personal enjoyment, satisfaction, and then seeing the impact flow.
Mari, you too. What?
Yeah, I think, in the UK, we have this extraordinary wealth in our research universities in terms of the breadth and the quality of the research that's done in the UK. And we don't have the same level of absorptive capacity in our UK economy. We're not well endowed, thinking about the country as a whole, with squadrons of competing licensees, right? We have to work quite hard to get any deal done. And so a spin out, as Andrew says, it can be a way of leveraging some private capital to get the stuff, whatever it is, a bit further along the development pathway so that then the spin out can go and develop those partnerships. So oftentimes it is a mechanism for leveraging private capital in as a development means, if that makes sense. Not all spin outs are going to grow up into a standalone massive undertaking. Often they'll get bought, or sometimes they fail. That's the thing too. Sometimes there'll be a sort of lifestyle company where they're going to grow so big but no bigger, because that's what suits the founders and those working in it, and all of those are okay options. But in terms of reward, there are very few things about my job that are more rewarding than when I'm just out and about living my Oxfordshire life and seeing our companies' names on the outside of buildings with people going in and out of them. Like, this is real economic impact that makes a difference in our communities.
Brilliant. So great personal rewards and great kind of societal rewards from
Yeah.
starting these new companies and growing. Thank you for helping put it in context. In terms of the spin out creation course that we're running at KUK with your help, I just wondered if I can ask you, I'd say two main questions that we can unpack. Who's it for and what's covered in the course? So who would you say the kind of typical delegates are for spin out creation, or the people that you think would really benefit from this course? What type of people should come along?
Yeah, I mean, the majority of our delegates, not everybody, but the majority are in knowledge exchange roles, doing their first spin out companies or starting to think about what will it mean for us in our institution if we do spin out companies. They're somewhere on that journey of trying to make some of these things happen, but not always from universities. Sometimes we have delegates from research institutes, Life Arc, for example, or Cancer Research Horizons. So there's a range of delegates. Sometimes we get people maybe from a research council, or we've occasionally had a dean of faculty from a university somewhere who just wants to learn more about what this stuff actually means in practice.
And in terms of size of institution, obviously, if with all the activity in spinouts that we've seen and the spinout register, many institutions are getting involved, but at different levels. So the Oxford office is quite big, but other institutions are starting to think through how they can do more spinouts. What would you say about the relevance of the course if you're in a small team or in a large team, in terms of how that works with delegates? Andrew.
I think it's equally relevant. We get delegates from universities that have smaller TTOs to who do less spinouts to those right on the other end of the spectrum, and I think the content's equally relevant to both. And the other thing to say is that actually we've got a session looking at the differences between the larger and the smaller offices in this course, but it's also the relationships that people build on those courses that are important.
So thank you, Andrew. All of our courses have that networking opportunity as well, the chance to meet other people in similar situations. And I know from my experience, I've really benefited from the chance to see that other people are struggling with the same problems. It's not just you, but it's a common problem. but also seeing how that plays out in different contexts, and being able to take that back into your own context. And I think, although we have very experienced course directors, actually the other delegates on the course are a really useful aspect of the course in order to get those perspectives. So it's applicable for many people thinking about tech transfer from HEIs, from funders, from research institutions. But what is the course? What's the structure of the course? What's the content of the course? What would people expect to come away from the course with?
Yeah, so we have a sort of introductory half day, which is dealing with sort of some of the basics about why might you be thinking about spin outs and what some of the vocabulary that you're going to need. And then through the in-person content, we'll deal with business planning, we'll deal with pitching skills, recognizing that it's often not us who are actually doing the pitch for an individual company to investors, but sometimes it might be. We certainly need to be able to coach our founders into producing a good pitch. Thinking about team for the new business, thinking about stakeholder management, thinking about social enterprise. Not all new ventures are for profit. Thinking, of course, about investment, which is a huge and highly technical area. And then walking through legals. We have a wonderful lawyer who comes and makes the legals really comprehensible, thinking about term sheets, shareholders agreements, directors' responsibilities as well. And then wrapping up with post-deal management, what happens next. And I think it's really important to say that, investment people spend a whole career in. The legals around corporate law and management, people spend a whole career in. So we're not going to make you expert in these things over the course of 2 days. It's just not possible. But what we hope to do is to give you a sense of the breadth of the ground that you need some awareness of, so that you can have a bit more confidence in being an educated client who knows which sorts of questions to ask, who's got a sense of when you need to get proper expert advice and when it's more okay to make it up as you go along a bit, make some assumptions, take some steps so that you can move forward.
To really navigate you around that sort of landscape of the legal technicalities. Andrew, have you got anything to add around and what you expect people to come away knowing or understand?
No, I mean, I'll just reiterate the point. I mean, it is quite a complex process, and what I found is that there is no standard way of doing things, and every transaction is slightly different. But the network you help build, including people like Mari, myself, and the investors and the advisors on the course, we're there to be contacted. We're there for you to ask questions to. We and so are the other people on the course. So we'll, as well as letting you know which questions when you need to ask them, there'll be people that then you can ask in future and get referrals. So that side of things is can't be underestimated.
And so the skills side of things, you talk about the knowledge and the signposting different legal things. Are there particular skills that you think people from the course will come away with that you sort of cover in the course? You mentioned the sort of pitching side of things.
Yeah, so pitching is really like, how do you sell an idea in a really concise way? And that's a skill that's really useful if you're just trying to get anything done in an organization. In our daily lives, we need to be able to explain really concisely to somebody why they ought to be paying attention to our thing, whatever that thing is. So the way that we approach that, we do a little bit of the theory about what constitutes a good pitch, aiming to get all the nuts and bolts of it into no more than a minute, really. And then we do some small group practice just with a group of your peers, so that you've got a really safe environment to actually just try some ideas out, see how good you can make your pitch, get some feedback in a really safe setting. And same with the sort of business building side of things and the legals as well. We try and make it really quite hands-on, so that you'll be thinking about how to plan a business, reading a real term sheet and thinking, what do I need to know about this? And trying to work through some of those things with support from the trainers on the course. So hopefully you're building some skills there that you can take away back into the rest of your work.
And I guess there's an element of judgment in this space. You said it's very, very complicated, and it involves a myriad of different partners and bringing partners together. But also there was a sense there in what you were talking about, whether a spin out is the right route and whether there are other routes. So I don't know whether you've got any sort of thoughts about the confidence that people might come away with to make those judgments, and how the course might help them in making decisions about how to progress or what way to progress.
Well, we cover sort of, why we might want to do a spin out at the moment. I think we also cover the complexity of that decision making. Often it's not us making a single decision whether it is or is not a spin out. It's a decision that involves quite a lot of other people, the academic founders, potential investors, and other stakeholders. So we talk through the kind of stakeholder management and all the people involved in that decision making, and how the land lies in terms of the broader context behind spin out decision making.
Thank you. I'm just going to flag at this point that we do have the possibility for Q&A questions about the course. So if you are interested in doing that, please do put a question in the Q&A box at the bottom of the webinar. I might just ask a couple more questions before we go to that, but just to flag that possibility up. Of course, you can send an email to the team and we can provide some of the practical details about the course and the like. So it sounds like a quite intense couple of days. And so in terms of what you think delegates will get from that experience, if people are concerned about investing the amount of time, do you have any thoughts about the time invested? And equally, I'm aware that I think Andrew was saying before that he did the course in the past. I'm not sure whether Mari did or not.
Once upon a time.
But what did you get out of the course back in its previous incarnations? Or what things do you wish you'd known earlier in your experience of spin-outs?
Yeah, so for me, I went on I think 2 day, maybe it was even 3 days, how to do a spin out course from the organisation that has preceded Knowledge Exchange UK. And what I gained from it was that sense of overview of feeling like, okay, now at least I know where the buckets are of stuff that I need to be aware of, if that makes sense. I think before that I had a real fear of what I didn't know, if that makes sense. So from this course, we walk you through all of the key disciplines I think that you need some awareness of. You're not going to get to be expert in all of them, but at least you'll have a better view of the things that you need to be aware of and that you ought to be thinking about to stand a decent chance of being able to get one of these away. So that confidence.
So the overview, where you know what you know and what you don't know,
Yeah,
which then helps you as you kind of have a real opportunity coming.
exactly.
And I guess from that as well, with spin-outs, they don't come along every day. So there's the chance of people going on the course and perhaps maybe working on something or something maybe around the corner. So that overview being really important. Andrew, the same kind of question to you about the course structure or about your personal experience and what you wish you'd known back in the day that you hope to help current delegates to deal with.
I mean, I think a bit like Mari, I got a lot of confidence out of it, and a lot of the confidence was knowing that actually this is quite complicated. But a lot of it was down to the fact that I realised there are a lot of people who had similar concerns about spinouts in their roles, and just sharing that experience with other delegates was hugely important to me. When I'm not in this alone, there are people out there who can support. That was incredibly powerful.
I think what I love about the course is the sort of war stories, the sort of the experience of people who've been there before, and what I think is true in many of our courses is the sort of real version of events, where things don't perfectly go to plan, which again gives you confidence that actually as something unusual crops up or something that your institution has never dealt with before, there are other people tackling with those same and similar challenges.
Yeah, I don't think there's any such thing as a spin out that goes to plan. They're all like they all have their unique facets, let's put it that way. And even when you've done really loads, they're still capable of surprising you. So having the confidence to know that that's going to happen, to expect the unexpected, to expect that people will get a bit crazy as it gets towards completion just because the stakes are high, that really helps you to not take it personally and just go, okay, this is just part of the flow.
And so people coming away with a confidence that actually, how do I deal with the unexpected? And what are the signposts and the structures and the frameworks that can help me guide away through that? I think that's all the broad general questions I've got, but unless there's anything that Mari or Andrew want to sort of mention about the course that I haven't sort of uncovered.
I think it's a pretty decent overview. We try and make it practical. We try and make it fun. We try and make it be a safe place to learn and to practice and to have a go at some of these things. So the legal session, for instance, is like there's some actual practical work in that legal session, thinking about what do these terms mean and how do I work out the answer to these questions given the language that's in front of me. So we always have a really fun time with the delegates. It's a nice feeling by the end of the course, and the delegates who come do form themselves into little groups and get to know each other really quite fast. So that's a really nice thing to see, that community building.
The other thing I don't think we mentioned is we've also got external investors who come along and give their perspective, and that's really valuable. And interacting with those and asking them questions in a safe space is very useful.
Yeah,
I think that safe space is really important. Be able to do those pitching in an environment that doesn't matter as much as it might do in the day job, and similarly being able to ask very experienced people or investors those kind of what can often be seen as stupid questions, but actually are often very unlocking questions for other people with similar sort of things.
exactly.
So I'm going to move on to a few specific questions that have come up in chat as appropriate. So is there an expectation of pre-course or post-course work around the course? I know you mentioned an online session, Mari, but I think behind that question is how onerous is the run-up and what's expected afterwards? Do you have any thoughts on that?
So the pre-course session is really to kind of orient people and make sure that they hit the ground running with the course. We do recommend a bit of prior reading that we can let people know about, and then there's an exercise on terminology just so that when we get to the course, people are au fait with the terms we're using, so they can get the most out of the course. Post-course expectations, that's down to the delegates. We'd rather hope that they progress and start doing some or do more spinouts, but there are no set expectations.
I mean, I think as KUK, we hope that you feel more established in the community and that you feel more able to access things like KE Connect and your personal network to be able to sort of progress that thinking. Mario, is there anything you wanted to add, or it's fine if not?
Not really. I always like it if delegates go away with 1 or 2 or 3 things that they're personally committing to do or to do differently following the course, but we're not going to be checking up on you.
In terms of the delegate numbers, I think it obviously varies on a number of things. I think we run it at a maximum of about 35 people on each course, and according to demand, we can run it a number of times a year. But there's a particular question about that. But if you've got any concerns, you can come back to the office. There's a question about whether the course covers licensing of intellectual property to and from spinouts, or how that fits with other courses in the course portfolio that KUK have. I'll let you do the first stab about whether that's covered, and I might pick up some of the other courses that we have around this sort of space too.
Yeah, so licensing to spinouts is one piece of spinout related content that we explicitly don't cover in this course, so that there are other KUK courses about licensing which would give you a better view of licensing. Licensing to spinouts really is just licensing, but of course there's a particular vibe that comes with licensing to a brand new startup that's venture backed. So we don't spend any time on the course talking about licensing as a discipline, in that we haven't got any content sessions in the agenda specifically about that. But of course, if you've got specific questions, then we're really happy to have those conversations over lunch.
And of course, we have related courses around the fundamentals of tech transfer and also practical licensing, which from 2 angles sort of cover aspects of the licensing side of things. And it's important to say that obviously a lot of spinouts are about developing intellectual property. Spinouts is one way to develop that intellectual property, but licensing is an equally valid and relevant route as well, which I know both Mari and Andrew will be dealing with in their day job too. So I have no other questions, I think, in the open questions about the course in particular, and I know we're sort of cruising up to the end of our time. So before I say goodbye, if there was any final comments from Mari or Andrew, feel free to make them. If not, that's absolutely fine.
I might add something about the sort of government context, because of course the government is all about economic development, and they very much, this government and previous governments actually, very much view development of new high growth companies as being the future of the UK economy. We need new industries to replace the old manufacturing industries that have obviously declined in our country. And they are looking to us in our universities as the most likely source of those businesses. So that's the reason for the scrutiny from government and the support that we see from Research England in terms of introducing the Spinout register, the overall recommendations from the Spinout review that was run a couple of years ago. And those recommendations have been taken up and are in the process of being worked on. So that's the sort of backdrop of why we do this, is about economic growth for the UK.
And it's a very relevant, very important topic at the moment, and also the outworkings of that economic impact into society more broadly, as you sort of mentioned.
Exactly.
So very important from a government perspective, very important from universities. Quite a complex task to do on the ground. And so hence this course trying to help individuals and institutions to really get to grips with how to build that pipeline and grow that pipeline of exciting new spin out opportunities. I'll draw the webinar to a close there and thank those that have tuned in this far. If you want more further information, look at our website or do drop us a line. But also to thank Andrew and Mari and the other course directors and presenters who've pulled together this course, and particularly Andrew and Mari, who'll be leading it later this year. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. And I look forward to hearing of lots of spin outs coming off the back of people who've benefited from the course. Thank you all.